Here at GP Fans, we're always learning, and after every race weekend, we do learn something new about the world of Formula One. So here, after the Spanish Grand Prix, and before we get into all the build-up to Monaco, is everything we learnt from last weekend at the Circuit de Catalunya. Remember to follow GP Fans Global on Twitter and Instagram, of course, for all of the updates leading into Monaco and the rest of the fallout from Spain, but here is what we learned. Sergio Perez was not impressed with Red Bull's handling of the Spanish Grand Prix. The Mexican pulled aside for Verstappen early on before being denied the chance to move past at the midway stage, only to be ordered not to defend the lead in the closing stages of the race. Before this is blown up into a team orders drama, Verstappen actually had the pace to win whether Perez defended or not, and was not gifted the victory by his team. But what doesn't help is the fact that Perez was initially told by his engineer that the positions would be reversed when moving aside the first time. If trust begins to break down between the team and the driver, could that leave them susceptible to a Ferrari down the line? Time will certainly tell, and it's an interesting time for this to happen, with Sergio Perez opening contract talks with Red Bull in the last week. A common theme of this new era of Formula One so far has been reliability. Red Bull had a problem with the DRS on Verstappen's car all weekend, but the big story was Leclerc's retirement. Ferrari will disassemble the power unit to find out what caused Charles Leclerc's sudden power loss, but after replacing Carlos Sainz's chassis between Friday and Saturday, the Scuderia has been shown so far to be far from bulletproof. Mercedes didn't escape either, with cooling issues blighting both drivers. In the end, it was Lewis Hamilton who suffered worse, almost retiring in the final 2 laps and having to drive at half throttle due to a DNF risk. The season looks set to perhaps be a war of attrition. On the topic of Mercedes, the Silver Arrows can take a few days before Monaco to dwell on what was a much improved weekend. The bare bones of its time in Spain may show the W13 was still 0.6 slower than pole in qualifying and over 30 seconds adrift on race day, but the fact that both Russell and Hamilton had the confidence to attack with the car and challenge Ferrari and Red Bull is a huge plus point. Setups can now be fine-tuned with more performance to come. The biggest relief for both drivers will be the eradication of the aggressive porpoising that had left Russell with health scares. A huge sigh of relief would have been had on Sunday night. Valtteri Bottas is a man rejuvenated at Alfa Romeo this season. More often than not, the Finn has been the best of the rest, even when the car hasn't been. And in Spain, for a large part of the race, Bottas was in contention for a remarkable podium. In the end, Alfa Romeo took a strategy risk to try and reach the top 3 instead of consolidating 4th, and that decision saw Bottas eventually wind up 6th on aging medium tyres. But the result isn't necessarily a be-all and end-all for Bottas. He showed a racing desire seldom seen in his last 2 seasons with Mercedes. As he has proven in his career, a happy Bottas is a fast Bottas, and a fast Bottas is faster than most. And finally, it feels as though the jury has been out in the early part of the season, with people waiting for a dull race to point fingers at Formula One and shout, "You solved nothing with your regulation changes." Yet at the Circuit de Catalunya, that has been famed for its lack of racing action, cars were following close to each other, overtaking and, importantly, battling side by side through multiple corners. Verstappen was at the heart of the 2 most startling manoeuvres, first with Russell in a stunning battle through the first sector when scrapping over what was 2nd position. The Dutchman then pulled off a rare move at turn 12 around the outside of Bottas. Yes, the tyre offset at the time was major, but that's not to take away from the fact that the new generation of cars are producing what was asked of them. Millions of overtaking moves were not part of the promise, simply heightened racing action. The Spanish Grand Prix now proves the changes are a resounding success. So is there anything else that we should have included in what we learnt from our weekend in Spain before we, of course, move to the Blue Ribbon event? That is Monaco, coming up in a few days' time. Let us know in the comments section below as always, and hit subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest news in the world of Formula One.